Hello guys, welcome back to the Healthy Not Complicated podcast. Today I am going to be talking about Whoop and why I no longer use it. Now, this is going to be a little bit of a review video for Whoop 4.0, which if you don't know, it is a fitness tracker. It's a fitness tracker that doesn't have a screen on it, and it also tracks your sleep and your recovery. And in my opinion, it is the best fitness tracker. It's the best for tracking sleep and for actually measuring your recovery. It's the best option on the market, way better than Apple Watch. It's better than Garmin. But despite it being the best, in my opinion, I no longer use it. And I have been a Whoop user since 2020. So I've been using Whoop almost 5 years. I started with the 3.0, and then when they upgraded, I got the 4.0. So in this episode, I'm going to be talking about what Whoop is, what it tracks exactly, how it works, how it uses HRV, and how accurate it is. Let me tell you, I was a huge Whoop fan. I would wear this thing all the time because one of the cool things about it is the device itself. You wear it on your wrist, but then the device itself, it's just this. So they have sports bras that it slides into. They have like wrist straps that go a bit higher. They have underwear. So I had the underwear so I could wear it basically at all times and not have to have it on my wrist. Basically what I'm saying is I spent a lot of money on Whoop accessories. And this thing, it's meant to be worn 24/7. I wore it 24/7. And like I said, I am still a huge fan of it, although I am not currently using it and I don't know if I'll go back to it. I'll get into why that is obviously in this video, but I do think for athletes, it can give you a lot of insights that are very, very valuable. But anyways, let's start from the beginning. So Whoop, it's a wearable fitness activity tracker, and it is really targeted at athletes. Like I said, it doesn't have a screen, so all of the data comes up on your phone. You can see your workouts in real time. You can track just about any workout. There's even some pretty strange ones that you can track, things like watching sports. It counts that as an activity. Now, what I really like about Whoop in terms of activity tracking is that you don't have to start the workout. You can start the workout if you want, but you don't have to. If it senses your heart rate has gone up, if it senses you've been doing an activity, it will pop up after the fact, even if you didn't start it. Now, you can also go in and add a workout, so between a certain time period, and all your data will pop up because it is tracking everything 24/7. So I know that's a problem that a lot of people have when they use like Garmin or Apple Watch, is forgetting to start their workout, and that's not an issue with Whoop. So the activity tracking is great. For every activity you do, it'll give you a strain score, and depending on the type of activity you've done, I think the strain score is out of 21. And it's not just based on your heart rate. If you're doing a cardio workout, then yeah, it mostly is. But if you're doing something like a strength workout or a Pilates class or something that's lower intensity, it will adjust your strain score accordingly. And then basically all your strain inside of activity and outside of activity builds up throughout the day, and then you get a total strain score. Now, every morning when you wake up, you're going to have a recovery percentage. You'll either be in the green, which means good recovery, yellow, or red. And this is based on how much sleep you got, what your resting heart rate was, but also and mainly based on your heart rate variability. Now, heart rate variability is a metric that is used to track recovery. A lot of wearables didn't used to track HRV like Garmin and Whoop in terms of sleep and recovery. I think some of them are starting to now, but Whoop has been doing this for years and years and years. And what heart rate variability is, or HRV for short, it's the amount of time in between your heartbeats and the variability. So the more variable your heartbeats are, it basically means that you're more recovered because your body is adjusting moment to moment. If your heart rate is less variable, then this means lower recovery. So this is a key metric in determining your recovery score. So when you wake up and you get your recovery score, then Whoop will give you a target strain to aim for within that day. The thinking is, depending on how recovered you are, that's how hard you can push that day. And compared to other sleep trackers I've used, like I've used Garmin before, I've used Oura Ring for even longer than I used Whoop, I think the recovery score from Whoop is the most accurate. Now, there are certain things I've noticed that significantly impact this recovery score that I don't know are totally accurate. I'll get into that a little bit later. So that's basically a general overview of what Whoop is. Now I'm going to get into the pros and then I'll talk about the cons. And when we get into the cons, then I'm going to start talking about why I personally stopped using Whoop. So the pros, you get very detailed recovery insights. And one of the ways Whoop does this, and does it way better than any other device I've ever used, is the journal entry feature. So the way this works is you can go through and you can select certain things that apply to you. Things like, did you drink caffeine that day? Did you get sunlight exposure in the morning? Did you wear blue light blocking glasses in the evening? Did you eat enough protein? Did you take magnesium? All these little sorts of things you can add into your journal. And then every morning you kind of go through and do like a checklist and you do like, yes, I took magnesium yesterday. I took it at this time. Yes, I did an ice bath yesterday. I did it at this time, etc. And you can kind of go down. So you can customize this. There's like so many options, and obviously not all of them are going to apply to you. But when you do this, then Whoop uses this data and lets you know how it either helps or hurts your recovery. So things that I found over the years significantly helped my recovery was stopping eating 3 hours before bedtime, taking magnesium in the evening, not drinking alcohol. Those are some of the main ones. Reading before bed, that sort of thing. Depending on where you are in your cycle, if you're a woman, this impacts your recovery significantly. This is one thing that is just so frustrating, is that in the second half of your cycle, your HRV, no matter like if you're doing everything right, it's just going to be lower. And when you use these devices, that can be so discouraging, because if you're used to it being higher and like getting a good recovery score, and then you're doing the exact same thing, but you're not as recovered, oh man, like that's hard to see, but that's just part of life, I guess. So the journal entry, I think, is very, very insightful and can help a lot of people who are trying to figure out where they're going wrong with their sleep. And this is why certain things like morning light exposure and limiting light exposure after sunset and stopping eating a few hours before bed, this is why I recommend these things all the time, because I have seen the data. I know that this improves your sleep, this improves your recovery. When you sleep better, when you recover better, your insulin sensitivity can improve, your metabolic health can improve, you're going to feel better the next day, obviously. And these little things, like you might not feel different, I guess, the following day, but they do make a big difference. Now, the sleep tracking, like I said before, this is another pro for me. Again, it's very accurate. You don't have to like start anything in the evening. It knows when you fall asleep and it knows when you wake up. If it is wrong, you can adjust it. I really like the strain score as well. Obviously, it's hard if you already have like a set training plan and then you wake up one day and your recovery is really, really low. So you have to kind of weigh whether it's worth you missing that workout, because sometimes you'll wake up and you'll be like, okay, I feel great, but you have a really low recovery score. And does that mean you shouldn't do your workout? No, not necessarily. So it can be helpful, but I don't think you need to follow it to a T. I also like that there is no screen. And I know for some people this is a con, but for me it's a pro. I don't like having my notifications on my wrist at all times. I like putting my phone on do not disturb mode and being able to like turn that off. So personally, I like that there isn't a screen. Now, if you're someone who's like a cardio athlete, if you do like a lot of running, or I guess running would be the main one, or maybe even swimming, and you want to see sort of your split times and your pace, this is where Whoop might not be ideal, because you'll have to have your phone in your hand and you'll have to be looking at it. Or I know some people will use like 2 devices if they're going for a run. I do also like, and this is a newer feature, maybe in the last couple of years, maybe even the last year, is the community feature and how you can make like teams or groups. So if you have friends who are using Whoop, then you can kind of like see everyone's activity for the day and make it into like a little bit of a competition. So that can be kind of fun as well. But now let's get into the cons. So the biggest con, and I know this is becoming more and more common, is that Whoop operates on a subscription model. I believe it's something like $30 per month, depending on your currency. And that's not a small fee. I do think that you are getting a lot of data. So personally, I don't think it's that outrageous. I know it adds up and I know it feels like you're getting sucked in when you sign up for a subscription that seemingly you're signing up to for life. But I do think you do get a lot of data. So if you are able to use all the data and actually take advantage of all the features, then yeah, it's worth it. If you're not really a serious athlete, if your goals are just like improving your sleep and overall health in general, and you're not really using like the activity tracker that much, then I think something like Oura Ring might be better for you. Oh, another thing that I didn't mention before is, yeah, you're supposed to be wearing this 24/7. That's the idea. So the way you charge it is there's actually a little piece that slides on. So you don't even have to take it off when it's charging. And that is another pro as well. And I think I could probably go like 3-4 days before having to charge it again. So that's not too bad considering. But now let's get into why I stopped using Whoop. And one of my main reasons was data fatigue. I found that I was just checking it throughout the day. I was kind of like, okay, how much movement have I got in? How many calories have I burned and whatnot? And not really for any specific purpose. Basically, I was finding, I don't want to say obsessive about it, but just it was something that I was constantly checking. And like I said, I'd been using Whoop for close to 5 years. I have a pretty good handle on what helps and hurts my recovery, like I said, and that wasn't changing. There wasn't anything new that I was getting from sort of the journal feature or from tracking my recovery. Like, I know what I have to do to get a good night's sleep. I know what I have to do to be fully recovered. Not drink alcohol. That is probably number one. That absolutely tanks your HRV. And once you start wearing a wearable like this, oh my God, even just like one glass of wine, one beer, huge decrease in your recovery. And that's because alcohol is a toxin and your body's working to get it out of your system as fast as possible. And when it does that, it puts everything else on hold. So that's probably the main one. And I mean, that doesn't mean like never drink ever again. But honestly, when you see your recovery score after you've had a few drinks the night before, it makes you want to never drink ever again. But just something to know that you're not fueling your body. You're not going to be able to recover properly if you're drinking. So that's the biggest one. Of course, having just like a consistent bedtime and wake time. That's big for me as well. Getting morning sunlight exposure. That helps to sync your circadian rhythm. And I've seen this data proven for myself. Not eating too close to bedtime, another huge one that makes such a difference. Yeah, so I basically know all the things that help and hurt me. So I wasn't really getting anything extra from it. And I was finding that I was trying, I don't want to say obsessive, but like I was trying to do all these things just for the sake of doing them so that I could tick them off, if that makes sense. And I mean, that can be good if you're trying to build habits, but for the most part, I have these habits formed. And if there was like one day where it wasn't going to happen, I don't know. It was just getting a bit overwhelming. I wasn't feeling like I was getting anything from it. Like I said, sometimes I would wake up and I would actually feel good and like be ready to go. And then I'd have a low recovery score and I'd kind of be like, oh, and that kind of has a placebo effect. So basically at the start of this year, I went cold turkey and I just stopped wearing my Whoop altogether. I didn't cancel my membership completely. I paused it for 3 months. I think that's the most you can pause it for. And I'll see what happens at the end of March. But honestly, I'm kind of loving just living in the flow and not really having to check something to see how I feel. It feels good to be able to just kind of listen to my body and make choices based on how I'm actually feeling and not on the data. And like I said, I know it can be very beneficial, especially if you're just starting out and especially if you are an athlete. Like that aspect I really, really liked. But I just hit a point where it wasn't benefiting me anymore. So basically, I am not tracking any of my workouts at the moment. And I cannot tell you how many years I've been tracking my workouts. I think I've been on Strava for something like at least 10 years because I used to do a lot of cycling, tracking my workouts there. I would track like my hockey and like my gym and everything through Strava, well, through like my Garmin, then through my Whoop, and then upload it on Strava. So the fact that I haven't tracked any workouts in like a couple of months is a little bit insane, but honestly, very, very freeing. So right now I have just been using my Oura Ring to track my sleep. And honestly, I haven't even been looking too much at my recovery score. I've mainly been using it just to track my temperature because then I use that to track my cycle, find out when I'm ovulating, find out exactly when my period is coming. And that aspect of wearable devices and Oura Ring is honestly so great for this because I know that as soon as my temperature starts to increase, 10 days later, my period's going to start. And that is like clockwork. So I've been using Oura, but not really to track my sleep. And the reason I can justify that, because Oura Ring is now also a subscription service, but I started using Oura when it wasn't a subscription, and anyone who started back when I did like 6-7 years ago is a legacy member. So we never have to pay a subscription. So I can kind of justify that just for my temperature. I just want to finish up by saying who I think could benefit from using Whoop and who probably doesn't need it. Now, I will also say that you can sign up for Whoop and get 1 month free. You get the device free. You can try it. So I'll put a link in the description box if you guys do want to try it, because through that referral, you get a free month. So even if you're just curious about it, it's worth trying at least once. But the people I think it can really benefit are elite athletes, people who are really interested in data, who are interested in improving maybe their HRV, their VO2 max, that sort of thing. But for anyone who is looking just to track their sleep, their recovery, their activity in a general sense, they're just like the everyday person, there's better options out there. This isn't made for you. For anyone who kind of struggles with tech, not for you. It's a pretty complicated app. For anyone who wants real-time data during their workouts, especially for like cardio workouts, for runs and that sort of thing, not for you either. For anyone who has, I guess, like sleep issues, like insomnia, probably not the best either. I mean, I do find the sleep and recovery tracking to be accurate, but I just don't think it's necessary if you're not taking advantage of like the activity and that sort of thing. So in summary, do I recommend Whoop? I do think it is the best for athletes and for anyone who is competing competitively and really wants to like fine tune things and likes the data. But for the everyday person, no, this isn't for you. So anyways, like I said, if you are curious about it and you do want to try it out, I will put a link in the description box down below. I think my code or my link is like hckait.com/whoop. So really easy if you can't find it. That'll give you 1 month free so you can try it out. But I want to hear from you guys. Have you used Whoop before? Have you used any competitors? Apple Watch, Garmin, Oura Ring, 8 Sleep, that's another one I have. Have you tried any of these? What were your thoughts? Which one do you like best? Have you suffered from data fatigue before? I'd love to hear from you guys, so let me know in the comments down below. If you're watching on Spotify, I'd love if you could give me a 5-star review if you enjoyed this. And if you're watching on YouTube, give this a thumbs up. And I will see you guys next time. Bye.